Hey ladies, it's Ariane, and I was just about to make this video. My daughter woke up from a nap and wanted to come and cuddle with me. So, can you say hi to the camera?
Hi.
So, I asked her if she wanted to play on my Kindle for a second, and she said, no, I want to cuddle with you. So this is perfect. This is what being a mom is all about. I love it. Anyway, I wanted to go ahead and do two videos about my two previous births, and I know that it's a really long story, so I'm going to just cut information like crazy just to fit it within 15 minutes. But this little girl actually that I'm holding, Adele, I'm going to tell you she's my first daughter, and she was born when I was, I had planned to go to a midwife, and so I had been to a midwife and was going to go the whole natural route. And when I was about 27.5 weeks pregnant, 37.5 weeks pregnant, I had been under a lot of stress. I had a lot of things had happened. I ended up having a lot of false labor contractions that became very regular, but didn't really progress me very much. And so after about, I think it was the third night of pretty much being up all night with contractions, and I hadn't slept. By the third night, they were really painful, and I was incredibly miserable. In the middle of the night, like 3 in the morning, I finally called my midwife. They had their attitude was just kind of, take it slow, wait until it progresses, but in the middle of the night, I called them and I was like, look, either you got to get this baby out of me, or I have to go to the ER because I have not slept, and I was tired and I was in pain. So she met me at the birth center. I think it was like 3 in the morning that she actually met me. And they hooked me up to a breast pump, an electric breast pump, and I did a ton of rounds of that just to get the contractions stronger and harder and more effective. I think when I went into the midwife, I was only dilated, I want to say, to a 3. So I was not very far along at all. Like, I was not dilated, but my contractions were really hard. And they got the contractions stronger and more, like, back-to-back consistent. And it was horrible. I was in a ton of pain, and I was not coping with the pain well. And I think that a lot of it was I hadn't slept. I was having, they kept telling me, breathe through it, and don't hold your breath, and try to calm down. And I was just beside myself. It was so much pain. I was ready to yell and scream at everybody. They wanted me to lay on the bed and just relax for a little bit and try to get some sleep. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I swear they weren't even like a minute apart. My husband laid on the bed and fell asleep, and I laid on the bed and thrashed like a whale out of water, and was so mad that and the midwives like went into another room and like rested, I guess. I don't know. Looking back, I'm like, what horrible care from everybody who was there from me. And I was left on that bed to like be in the worst pain for probably, it was only an hour, but it felt like an eternity. And I was so mad. I was ready to yell and just be like, get your butts in here, what the heck. I don't know. I was really not in a good place. I was in a lot of pain, and I was really, really, really tired. Like, I had not slept hardly at all in 3 days. So by about probably, I would say, 8 o'clock in the morning, I was ready to find out if I had dilated, if there was any progress. When they tried to lay me on the bed to check to see if I was dilating, my contractions were so close together that by the time I laid down, I had to get back up again to have a contraction. And I think it took 3 tries before she was actually able to see. I was only dilated to a 4. And, I was like, 4, that's it. And she was like, yeah, it could take a while longer. And at that point, I was like, no, I cannot do this. I was ready to die. Like, I was ready to shoot my brains out. It was horrible. And so I ended up going to the emergency room, not the emergency room, I should say the hospital. And it took a while to get that process going. And I remember the whole car ride over was just absolutely miserable. And by the time I got to the hospital, it was early morning. They asked me if I wanted some intravenous drugs, like I think it was Demerol. And at that point I was like, yep, give it to me. And they gave it to me, and it helped relax me until they were actually able to get the epidural going. And so I got the epidural, and that was, I have to say, that was like the best thing in the world for me. That was the most peace that I had felt in probably 3 full days. I mean, it's like if you were to have somebody yelling and screaming in your ear for 3 days, and all of a sudden it was like peace and quiet. It was such a relief, and I needed it. And I was able to like lay in the hospital bed and just rest for hours. And like, I didn't even fall asleep. I was so happy to be out of the pain that I was just like in this funky haze. My midwives came with me to the hospital, and they stayed with me through the whole birth. She was not actually born until, I think it was later that night at like 9 o'clock that I was actually fully dilated. And so knowing that, like, I know there's no way that I could have done it. And the lesson that I learned out of it was sometimes you do have to be the squeaky wheel. I was trying really hard to be quiet and not make a big deal out of it, and just, you know, the midwives told me to relax and let it go, and I was trying really hard not to be obnoxious, but I really should have made it very clear to them that I was not sleeping and that I was beyond functioning. And so, let's see, she was, when I was very happy at this point. I was very happy. I was in a very happy mood. I was joking with the nurses and the doctor, and when I finally did push, I pushed for a long time. It was about 2 hours of pushing. I don't know why. I remember pushing really hard, and also since my midwives were there, it was actually really nice because they were very helpful to me, like with the interventions that I didn't want and stuff like that. My doctor the doctor that was there kept trying to give me an episiotomy, and my nurses were in the background going, no, you don't want to do that. But I pushed for 2 hours, and oh, the other thing too is my midwives, like when I started to get further dilated, they were like, you could go ahead and turn off the epidural drip, and so that you could start to feel it, and when you start to feel it, you'll know you're pushing and you can kind of control it more. So I did that. It was about 2 hours before she was actually born. I turned off the epidural drip. So I think that I felt it more than most women do when they have an epidural. I felt a lot of it. Still not at all what a natural childbirth is, but I still felt it. I felt pain. I felt the ring of fire. I felt that pain. But when she was born, it was wonderful. I was drugged up, and she was drugged up, and I could tell a difference after having a natural childbirth, just the difference in my alertness, because there were a lot of things that I don't remember from my first. I barely remember the cutting of the umbilical cord. I don't even remember the umbilical cord. I don't remember birthing the placenta. I don't remember. A lot of it is really fuzzy, and I know that a lot of it was the drugs, and it made it not such a alert, memorable experience. It was more fuzzy, which was what I didn't like about it. Since I have had both experiences, I've had a natural birth and I've had a medicated birth. It's interesting because there's goods to both and there's bads to both, but anyway, she was 5 pounds and 13 ounces and very healthy for being so little. She was actually perfectly healthy, and it did take her a little while to get the sucking down to nurse, and I think that was the drugs. I think she was pretty drugged up, but I'll go ahead and stop this and start uploading it, and I will start on my natural labor and delivery story.